This time this morning, we are looking at bouncing back from financial setbacks and making an extra coin. Setbacks in some cases can also be crises, and looking at when things have just gone belly up, upside down. What's another way of belly up? I mean, really gone down the drain. And to help us out with that conversation this morning is Robert Ochieng, who is a CEO and co-founder of Abojani Investment. Robert, good morning.
Good morning.
And
pleasure to be here.
Well, welcome to the hot seat of the Situation Room today. Thank you for coming. And there are quite a number of issues that we're going to delve into today. And you're basically showing us the way. Mm-hmm. And even as we do that, thanks for coming. And we're going to start off today by welcoming you to the Situation Room with a proverb that CT will share from one of our African countries. And then you'll let us know what your interpretation of that proverb would be. Okay. Is that right? Okay.
Yes. Proverbs for this week come from the Republic of Burkina Faso, otherwise known as the land of honest people. Okay? The horse cared for by two grooms dies of hunger. Horse, two grooms taking care of it, hunger.
Kadoof. Okay.
It's a proverb. What do you think it means?
I think what it means is that there needs to be concentration or accountability. Without that, then you might be thinking that everyone is thinking about you, but no one is really thinking about you. Yeah. So you have to have a system that says that today is Robert who is going to be in charge, and tomorrow someone else. But if both are in charge, then there's no one who is really in charge. So sleep hungry.
Excellent.
Wow. I love it. Yeah. Actually, really excellent. We all spend our time doing something, and the thing that will keep you going essentially has not been taken care of. Okay. Well, Robert, this year started, and even going last year, the years before, people have started to really cry and not just complain, but to really break down on how things have gone financially. And usually you can tell the measure of a man or a woman by what they're able to manage, purchase, sustain. But so many things happening at the same time, loss of economic value, debt, crises financially. There seems to be a very, very tough situation going on for a lot of people today. Why so?
Yeah, so if you look back, I think we can go back to 2019. So 2019, there's something positive that happened in Kenya towards the end in Q4. That is the interest rate cap in the banking sector was repealed. So it was a very positive moment for Kenya, given that meant that now banks could start warming up back to lending, because with interest rate cap, they're a bit fixed in terms of should we lend to the public or should we lend to the government. So that was very positive. And even as we started 2020, then unfortunately COVID came in March. I think it was officially declared in Kenya. So since that time in Kenya, we've had a lot of issues. And during COVID period, something that happened is that there was loss of income. So there are people who are told, go home, and there's uncertainty. So people call it liminal time. So liminal time is traditionally...
Okay, spell it, please. Liminal.
Liminal is Liminal.
Like minimal, but with an L.
Liminal. Wow. So what it means is that period whereby, like traditionally used to have initiation period. So that small moment where you are transitioning from a small boy to a man. So you are lost in between, right?
Right.
So yesterday you are a small boy, tomorrow you are a man.
Small boy, me I thought it to a big boy.
Yeah. So anyway, so that period of, let's say, from being a boy to a man or a girl to a woman. So there's usually a bit of confusion. So that is what happened during COVID. So you've been told that all restaurants are closed. You've gone home, and people didn't know what to do. And if you look at it, that's where we were doing crazy things. People are going to the supermarket buying tissue paper. But if you ask, why are you buying that and not something else? No one can tell you why they are doing that. So there was a bit of uncertainty and confusion. I was working in the banking sector back then. I was head of IT in a bank. And we had never thought people would work at home. If you told us even 2 days before the circular from CBK and KBA came, would just tell you that thing is impossible. But here now is the circular. So you have to figure out how to do it and enable people to work. So financially also what happened is that now there's no source of income and you are at home. So what happened with money is that your needs will always be there, but income is not guaranteed. So that's where people found themselves. So you find that you still have bills to pay, and you still have things like utility bills, stuff like that. And so that was one angle for the people who are professional, employed entrepreneurs, etc. The other angle that I saw from some of my clients, we've always been told that you can never go wrong with real estate, right? So rent has always been coming. Then here I am as a tenant and I have no job. So even if I leave, where will I go and where will we get someone else? So for the first time, some of our clients who are landlords and landladies, they came and said, I didn't know that we should have other diversified investments like money market funds or bonds, because this thing has worked for me for 20 years, but now my tenants are not paying rent. So there are a lot of confusion that affected people financially. And like families, households, when you start having income issues, it affects relationships, because money is basically life. It's just that it is quiet and hidden. On a good day, you can decide not to care about money because you have it, you're having fun. But then when it is not there is when you start getting its true meaning. Yeah, so that happened. And I can say in a way we had some waivers, like, I think corporation tax was reduced by 5%, which was very positive. And then income tax for the employed or salaried people, it was reduced by about 5%. So you had slightly more income. Then oil prices globally were low. And there was food. Yeah, So now coming back from that phase again now, the Russia-Ukraine crisis came into being, and that one was the worst. If you look at it, we are in what we call emerging market or frontier market. So what it means that in markets such as ours, most households spend a lot of money on food and energy.
Why are we called emerging markets?
So emerging market, if you look at it economically, we've still not solved some of the basic problems, such as food securities. We are not energy dependent, and there's a high correlation between countries that have food security and energy dependence and development.
Right.
So when you have those two problems, it means if you have 100 Kenyan shillings, you are going to think about food first and energy. So when these things have been affected by by the crisis in Ukraine, what it means is that now the food prices will go up and energy prices will go up. So it means you've been hurt where it hurt most. So that is what happened to countries such as ours. And with the fuel prices going up and food prices going up, and we are also importers. We import a lot of food. Yeah, it's one of the top 5 things that we import, and energy. So when the prices go up, it means that the Kenya shillings also depreciates.
Robert, are we saying that the things you described, I like the way you're describing it because it's true, but even developed countries had those problems. So economies are not emerging. In fact, theirs in some cases were even worse than ours.
First world countries.
Yes.
Yeah.
But what happened in there is that for us, most of our income we spend on food and energy, and income is little as well. You get it? If you look at employment, it is a serious thing. It's a do or die in the US. That's why they share the statistics on a monthly basis. But here in Kenya, very few people are employed formally. And informally, it can be an opinion. You can say today there are 15 million, 17 million, but no one can confirm. But formally, that number has never gone up, which is the true reflection of what
it is true.
Yeah.
The point I was making is that if I look at the time of COVID, the people who were in the so-called first world, somehow this thing hit them worse than it hit us. Because if you say correctly, the moment you talk about a middle class, it means you have many people in that bracket who are employed. Okay?
Yeah.
But if businesses weren't being run, people who are working from home, the regular day-to-day transactions sort of like reduced before they stabilized. It means people who are more dependent on that were probably more affected. Why I say this is, in a setting like the one we have here, we all live in the city.
Yeah.
But there are very many people who live in the city who don't depend on their daily food on a daily basis from the local market. Food comes from the rural areas in one form or the other. I'm simply saying that we have an informal way of doing things that perhaps isn't documented well enough, but it's probably what explains how it is that despite the predictions that this economy is going to go completely belly up, it seems to survive because of what once upon a time those Bretton Woods institutions called the hidden economy. Okay? The way in which we informally do things. As I said, it's not documented formally, so it's difficult to report on. What you say is actually true. But I'm simply saying that even the developed countries were equally hard hit. Because, for instance, whenever someone tells you that there is a drop in oil prices in this country, the understanding is that because fuel is used for transportation, and transportation is used for transporting goods, so whatever cost is passed on so that the person who actually bears the burden is the consumer at the end of this particular chain, isn't it? Here you reduce fuel prices, you're told, nothing changes. Okay? So, for us, when you say there's a change or there is a dip in the oil prices, we say yes. Like now, for instance, price of goods have actually gone down. It's the truth.
Yeah, true.
But the simple truth also is that people can't afford it.
People are still not able to afford
Even though
life.
it has gone down, they actually can't afford it.
And life is still just as hard.
Yes. No, it's harder.
Harder.
Because people do not have the money to spend,
Yeah.
and yet the food is actually cheaper.
So what happens is that, and what we see today, is that people are borrowing for essentials.
Yeah.
People are going into debt for essentials. People are borrowing money to eat. People are borrowing money to pay rent. People are borrowing money to send their children to school. People are borrowing money to
commute
get
to
on the
work.
bus. You know?
Yeah.
To take a matatu, to take a taxi, whatever. People are borrowing for would-be essentials. And it seems like it's a dire situation, is it not?
It is, and that's a very good point. So, like he's explained, what is happening is that we're also in a transition. And a very good point is that during the COVID period, people were wondering why the stock market in the US was doing very well. You know, people are not working, but the stock market is like some form of gamification whereby share prices are going up. You can sell, then you have money, you bring it in the real economy. So what we need to understand is that the world has been financialized in a way, like wealth. You know, before what we are used to getting in terms of education to social learning. You learn from your parents, you know, the people around you. You are not going to school. But now to go to school, what do you need? You need real money or hard cash, which is something that is slightly new. So the economy has been financialized. So that is why everything has become a matter of money. Before that, you could stay a whole day without money. You could go to the farm, right? And you eat and you live a good life. But now you'll need energy, you need to pay Kenya Power, electricity, school fees. So you need money. So that's why the idea of money is a big deal now. And before we would be able to survive without it. So we are some of the last economies to get this idea in a big way on how money is driving everything. Things like the stock market. You know, share prices can go up. Someone sells, they come back and buy a house. You know. So that financialization of the economy is something that we really need to tap into. And that's why financial education and awareness is a big thing. Because, for example, I can say I have 1,000 acres of land, but to be admitted to Nairobi Hospital or Aga Khan, you need money. So that's where I have a piece of land worth 1 million Kenya shillings, and I might be so desperate to the extent that I can sell it at 500,000. So in fact, I'm becoming poorer, and the person with liquid cash is becoming richer. So that is why we really need to tap into how the world is moving.
But I am a bit skeptical about the financialization that you speak of, because we have never had a stock market crash in this country. So we have no idea what it feels like. The moment you have what you're calling, is it the financialization of an economy?
Yeah.
The good thing is that, yes, you are in a position to do a great deal with what you have simply because of the fluid nature of the assets that you have. True. But again, when you have an economy such as the one that we like quoting, the Americas, or America specifically, USA, where the financial services make very many things possible. The ease with which you can get the mortgage I was talking about a few minutes ago. But they also had a very serious housing crisis. I'm saying this because these systems, good as they are, they can be subject to a great deal of manipulation. And when something goes wrong, the number of people who you had money, suddenly you have absolutely nothing. Because the value of whatever it is you own suddenly moves from this to zero. And you are flat broke. Now, that economy has its benefits. But the thing that I fear the most when I think about it is how easy it is for a few people who have the might and who understand the systems better than everybody else to manipulate it to the detriment of others. Because every time you had a stock crash, there are people who become extremely wealthy overnight.
Yeah.
Extremely. There are those who are hit with poverty and they stay that way. So I am simply saying, shouldn't we think of a hybrid system where I still keep my piece of land, I still farm at home, and if roads improve, at least twice a month, a relative of mine puts some maize and cassava into a bus so that I receive it in Nairobi. Would that hybrid system work better for us?
Yeah, and actually that's why you need a portfolio. So what you are saying, when you look at money, it is a tool to live life.
Yes.
And we are saying, like, let's say I'm a family and my child is in class 6 and I have 10 acres of land. So I'll need hard cash to take that child to high school. So I'd say, let me sell 1 acre. You see, so it's about having a portfolio where you have hard assets, but you're also aware that you are going to need liquidity. Because what is happening is that if you don't have liquidity and like financial tools like insurance and stuff like that, the chances of being poor usually are very high. And that's why there's a famous saying that a typical African family is just one disease or illness away from poverty. It's because you don't have a portfolio. It's just to say, this is how life is, this is the protection tool that I need. So I'll go for a bit of insurance, I'll have a bit of land, and to take my child to school, I need cash. So if I need to take that child to school 3 years from now, I need to start looking at how to liquidate some of my assets. So it's basically seeing your needs. The life is a journey, and what do you need 3 months from now, 3 years from now, and how do you prepare for it? Because some families, they just sit, for example, wait for the calling letter from high school to come, then they declare themselves poor, but actually they are not poor.
Then they start harambe.
You see, so that's basically what we are saying.
All right.
Yeah. So sickness is going to come. You have no. You cannot say, and there's data that shows that the older I get, for example, the more likely that I'm going to have some sort of sickness. So do you have a way to capture that in your portfolio? And if you are a family, how do you ensure that everyone in the family is productive? Because again, Federation of Kenyan Employers, they did a research that shows that for one formally employed Kenyans, we have 5 dependents. That's unsustainable.
It's crazy.
So you can't carry everyone on your back. Your back will break.
Let me ask you.
Goes down with it.
Let me ask you, for the sake of some of us who are still in this journey and learning, there is your basic salary. And first, you need to put food on the table every day. You need to commute. There's just that liquidity. Then there is what they keep telling us: investment. And then there is what they term as wealth. It's not easy. Like you said, financial literacy is important. A common Kenyan who is earning an average amount, let's say 50,000. 50,000, that's a lot. Some are just earning 7,000, 8,000. Let's talk about a house manager.
Oh.
Okay,
Let's go with the minimum wage in Kenya, which is supposed to be 15,000.
No, let's go with the minimum wage that people are paid. No, not what is in the books.
Okay, which is
what are people paid? What are the watchmen paid? What are the house helps paid?
7,000, 8,000, 10,000.
Okay.
Bas.
So let's go
This
with
same person, you tell him save, same person saying you need liquidity. He has to make investments as well, all right, for the future. And I just don't know how that balance works. You could also tell us more about investment. How to just make an extra coin, but also live a normal life with your 5 children, for example.
Yeah. So what we do as Abojani is we deal with individual clients, and we've dealt with many thousands of them. And I can tell you there are great stories even in Kibera, because I remember we once did a session there. Then 4 years down the line, one of the participants, some lady who is a business person, told me that they had 70,000 in a gold savings account with a bank from the session that we did. So usually it goes with the mindset. But what I know and I've seen from experience is that you will be in different seasons in life, and you have to respect the season that you are in. And that's why you hear these famous stories of someone was an intern, they rose, they became the CEO. So the problem sometimes is that we have conflict with the season that we are in. When you're just getting started, you'll be struggling. Because I remember there's a time I'd done a website for some company, and I knew that day I was going to be paid. It was in an industrial area, When I went, there are some changes, and they said, just go back and make this small change. So in short, I left without the check, Not to walk from industrial area to the CBD. And an uncle of mine gave me 200 and I went back to school. So you see, that's the stage that I was in. So that one is called, you are a spectator. So you're just seeing other people with cars, with money, and you don't have. So you have to humble yourself and live in that situation. And later on, you'll move. You are at least able to afford a bed seat of 7K. You see, a few years, you're able to afford a one bedroom, which is 15K, 30. So that is how it works. But if you want to get ahead of yourself, is when you'll find now you are in financial distress. Because what is happening again with technology, we have what is known as availability bias. So it is very easy to get loans, but the thing is, can you afford them?
Yes.
Yeah, there are actually several apps.
Okay.
You see, can you afford them? So that availability bias means that now our generation will struggle with saving and investing, because the generation just before us, where they beat us, is that they're able to just put that 2,000 Kenya shillings per month aside. At the end of the year, they have 24,000. You know, at the end of year 2, they have 4850. There are very minimal distractions. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's take a break and we're going to come back, because the truth of the matter is, just based on what Dorice has said, is that, you know, you have people earning a certain amount. People are borrowing to survive. People are borrowing to eat, which many, you know, financial experts will tell us that's not the good thing to do. But then what do you do when you're already in that situation? So you've borrowed to the hilt. The debtors are knocking at the door, and you make up all stories as to, you know, why you're not able to pay. How do you get out of some of these things?
Yeah, so first thing about financial markets, and what I learned is all about relationships. And that is always important, to have good relationships with financial services companies. So that's how money works. So it's important that if you're in a debt distress, reach out to the financial services companies. And one of the things that you can do, the shortest one, is to ask them to lengthen the repayment period. So, for example, if you are paying 3,000 Kenya shillings, if it is lengthened and it is reduced to 2,000 or 1,000, you are likely to be able to pay back the loans, rather than if you continue paying 3,000 and in debt distress. Some of the other ways, you can consolidate the debts. So let's have 3 different mobile apps. You can consolidate them into one by taking one big loan, and then now you pay off these other smaller ones. So those are some of the strategies that you can use. But talking to them really helps. So it's called loan restructuring, which I think happened during COVID, and it helped so many businesses and individuals. So I think usually there's stigma or fear, but what I've seen, especially the formal financial services companies, they can actually listen to you, and then sometimes you can get whoever's, the two of you can find a way to pay back the loan. And that's why it is important to go for regulated companies whenever you need a loan, and look at the options that is available. So you might have circle loans, for example, slightly cheaper than bank loans, but also you might find that in a bank you have very good relationships with your branch managers, and they can listen to you. So the other things that you can do in terms of self-development budget or one, so things like leisure, entertainment. So if you can cut them down, like if you normally go out 4 times in a month, you can reduce to 2 times in a month. So if you do that in 3 or 6 months, you might find that you have slightly more and able to knock off the loan. So like I said, is look at the situation that you are in. So the conflict that you have these days, that people sometimes forget to respect the seasons that they are in. Yeah, so you cannot live as if it is your best days in life, but financially you are not there yet. So just cool down, you know. Just tell friends you're not available this weekend, you know. Tell the chama that I'm taking a break for 6 weeks or 6 months, you know. Look at your own situation and don't let anyone put you under pressure.
Robert,
yes.
How does one know they're in financial distress?
So if you're in financial distress, first of all, if you are always worried about money and it's causing you a lot of stress.
My goodness, but we're always worrying about money.
There isn't a day.
Yes, that's the first thing, in my opinion, that you need to work on. Like, for example, personally, I'm an entrepreneur. So I need to know that things like operating expenses, rent, salaries are coming up, and start looking for ways out. But sometimes we don't do that. Like, you don't sit down for 1 hour, 2 hours, or 3 hours to look at that. But you know the problem is coming. So how will you solve a problem that you are not ready to handle? Like, you are not able to face it. So once you start thinking through, you'll find options. And I always say in financial situations, there are usually options. And the challenge is the thinking part.
Okay, let me give you an example. You had a job.
Yeah.
COVID came. You don't have the job.
Yeah.
You can't get another one. But you had obligations.
Yes.
The ones you say.
Yes.
Correct.
You had a house. You probably moved to a cheaper one. There's nothing like a cheaper loan. The loan that you had is still the loan, and the institution still wants their money. You've gone for restructuring, but remember, you don't have a job.
Yeah.
Okay? And the work you get is piecemeal. So you are essentially, you are working so that you can eat and live. Okay? You've probably taken your children, your family home to your rural area, those who have plots in the rural home. And so you are back to where you started before, sharing a room with a friend. Okay? Now, the obligations are constant. The economy is what it is, and it's not as though jobs are coming knocking at your door. This to me sounds like serious distress.
Yeah.
It is.
Okay. So it's not how do you get out of it. What thinking do you employ so that you can start the journey of getting out of this?
Correct. And that's actually what money is all about. Because I can give you this challenge. How many hours do you have in a day? That 24, right?
Right.
How many months do you have in a year? 12. And we have time for so many things. Like a whole Sunday, you might go out, do a lot of stuff. But rarely do we sit down and look at our finances. And that's why we tend to have money issues. Because if you set aside, let's say 1 hour.
Please repeat that statement again.
Rarely do we sit down and just say, for this 1 hour, just 1 hour in a month, I'm looking at my finances, I'm in debt, and these are my thoughts about debt, and these are the possible solutions that I can have.
Before you're in distress.
Before you are in distress, or even if you are in distress.
Okay. Already in distress.
Okay. Yes. So people just do other things. You have time for other things, right?
Of course.
Like football is coming, is a big day. Church is coming, going to the mosque. There are a lot of things that you have time for. But money, if you ask people honestly, they'll tell you that, Robert, I've never sat down even for 15 minutes to look at my finances.
Why is that?
It is a blind spot. It is a blind spot, and that's why now we need to be aware that actually it is the tool that is allowing us to have the luxury of life in most things. The fun that we are talking about, the entertainment, the leisure, the going to the gym, school fees that we are paying, those things that we really love, honestly, you need money for it. Then why don't you have time for money?
In your experience, why is it that people don't want to sit down and actually face the issues around money? Why? Sit and say, okay,
it's a bad situation.
This is
where I
it,
am.
yes, and why?
Yeah, I can say it is an undeveloped discipline because, other disciplines are developed. Because like medicine, you can do a whole 6 years in school. But finance, there's none. Because personally, I did MBA at University of Nairobi. You are never told how to handle our money. You'll be told how to
But
help.
you did MBA.
Yes, you are told how to
what
help.
on earth, why are you studying?
Is to help Standard Group, Safaricom, KCB do well financially. That's what we did in school.
Personally, at your personal level.
But at personal is up to you. If you forget yourself. So you need to know that by default, with a lot of humility, you should know that all of us, we are likely to have money issues because we are likely to have time for everything else except money.
Robert, there's this thing they say, money is never enough. I think you've heard it.
Yeah.
It's never enough. What is your say on that? Is it factual?
I think it's not factual if you do a plan and then you're able to prioritize your goals. So you can say these are the 4 things that I want to do and this is my income. So usually money has 0 emotions. So it goes with logics, right? So these are the inflows, these are the outflows. So it's a matter of saying, instead of building this year, can I do it 3 years from now?
Okay.
Yeah. So that I don't front load expenses while my income is not matching up to that. So it's always important to be true to yourself. So that's why things like credit score, in a way, they are a measure of your integrity. Like money can help you know someone's integrity. Like, are they honest with themselves? You get it? So it's important for us to be honest to ourselves. Like personally, I was planning to leave corporate. And because of that, I was living a slightly different life from other people because I knew that by 2021 I would leave, and when I come, you don't know whether a startup would work. So like the first 3 years I was not paying myself a salary. I was relying on passive income from investment that I had made before. That was my situation. But
what's a passive income?
So passive income is money that works on your behalf. So
when
maybe you have some money in money market funds.
There's such money
bonds,
which works when I'm asleep.
So what happens, you convert your active income to passive.
How?
So let's say you have money in a circle.
You are determined to confuse me further. I didn't understand passive, now you've taken me to active. Pole pole, eh?
Correct,
Okay,
yeah.
yes.
So
I'm
what
also
we are
following
saying,
here.
we do earn money.
Yes,
let's say Some people even get lump sum boss 10 million, but still they'll have nothing.
You know such people.
But still they'll have nothing.
They've said themselves on
You know,
TV.
Robert has said something. Some people can earn 10 million and still have nothing.
No,
Correct.
that 10 million is a one-off. It's not as though they earn it every day. That's what they call it, lump sum.
It is an active money that you earn for some reason. But for most people, it is a slow money coming in, right? So you maybe you're setting aside 50K per month aside. So at the end of the year, you have 60,000 in a circle. So if the circle gives you 10%, that 6,000 is what we are now calling passive.
Okay.
Can't it knock off one of your expenses?
It can do something.
It can do something. That's what we are saying. So once you've learned it, money is a practical game. There are no theories about it. If you do 5K per month, at the end of the day, you have 60.
Robert, what were you studying in MBA? Was there no theories?
So it is theory, but you have to convert it to practice because the doing now teaches you that if you put 50 per month, by the end of the year, it is a true story, you'll have 60.
Algebra.
Yeah. So the problem, these days we have too much wisdom and little knowledge. People are wise, but they have inertia.
But Robert, the problem is, when you look at that passive income, the thing about those is that it takes time. When somebody is in debt and you have the person calling you or whomever calling you, where is it? And you said, okay, I'll pay tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes and whatever you had thought would land from heaven has not come, right? And you're saying, this person is about to call me. My God, I told them 11 o'clock and it hasn't come in. That pressure is real. You don't have time for the passive income of how much did you people say it is that's coming in passively while you sleep? Some 60K. You don't have the leisure of that. You have pressure at that moment to get something sorted at that time. And now, how do people navigate that process?
Yeah, great. So I think one of the issues that we have, and we have to be honest as Africans, we need to go back to ourselves and realize that there was a setup that was working for us socially. So like one thing that we've seen these days, there are a lot of litigations. We don't know how to have conversations. So the first thing is to run to the courts. The first thing is to say on your sister or brother to your mom, or we don't know how to sit down and have honest conversations. So I usually say one of the highest forms of wealth is what we call social capital. Like personally, I value relationships, and relationships, they are diverse. They're with your friends, they're with financial services partners, they're with business partners. So you really need to get good at having quality relationships because those are the kind of things that can give you soft landing. Like, for example, the family setup is supposed to support you when you are in financial distress, depending on the structure. But it depends on what you are doing during the good days. So we cannot say that we come from nowhere. We are being told we are in the globe. There's no globe. We come from a certain household, You come from a certain community. You have certain friends, And let me tell you something that I've been telling young people. There are three people. There's friends, there's friendly, then there are buddies. So buddies are those things they're fun to hang around, and you might end up spending a lot of time with them. But they'll never give you ideas on how to get out of debt, how to grow your business, how to grow your careers. Then they are friendly. These are people that just need to be cordial with. Then friends and are the people who can actually support you when you need the job, when you are in financial distress. So I feel like sometimes we are just in there, with people around us, and you don't know who
can help you actually.
And that's why you end up calling the wrong people scams. People are saying friends are scams. They're not your friends. You didn't know who your friends are. So you need to know who your friends are. Like personally, I can tell you, there's a time I needed to change jobs. I called 10 people, and within 3 weeks, I started being called for interviews. Those are friends. And I've been telling so many people, please ensure you have quality. I have so many people who tell me about opportunities, business opportunities, career opportunities, things that they think would help me. So if you look at money, I would say it's a byproduct of what you know and who you know.
Robert, someone would think of instantly, I need a loan to pay off whoever I owe because of the pressure. There's this thing that's happening called Shylocks. I don't know. Who are these Shylocks? Is it a good idea? Because it's something you talked about. You might have an access to loan, but can you afford it? Maybe it's getting into even deeper distress. But even first, these Shylocks are here. A lot of people run to Shylocks, but where are they? Who are they? Are they safe?
Yeah, so you see, what happens, the lack of financial awareness, is that you just tend to do what you think. Instead of looking at options, then you choose the best for you. Like, even if you want a loan, to be honest, let's say it is a good day. Let's forget about financial distress. I want a loan now.
Yeah.
There are options, actually, we have banks, we have circles, and the Shylocks. So some people won't have time to even look at the various options and choose what is best for them. So that's the problem, lack of financial awareness. They'll just go to what is available, and that is probably might be the worst option. It's like when you want to own a home, there can be 3 or 4 options, but what do people tend to go? They go with emotions. So that's why you need to look at finance just like any other discipline. When you want to drive from here to town, people check the apps and see which road has got less traffic.
Yes.
On other things like if you want to move estates, you check do they have schools there. We are very careful with other things except money. You see, that's where now there are a lot of struggles are coming with money, because money, we tend to take it a bit careless. We are just emotional. We run to the app, then you find yourself in problem. Then you start thinking, why didn't I think before? You see.
So Robert,
So
you need to be more discerning. I'm not saying they are safe. I'm saying look at options.
I really want to hear this.
You see what
Shylock
happens? The wrong options will tend to be the ones that are closest to you. So they're the ones who will do the marketing. They'll tend to be where you are, where you hang around. They've figured out, people know that this is where they hang out, so they'll be there. KCB or Kikwiti might not be there, but the Shylock will be there with you. So where will you go? The person who is closest to you. But if you look at financial education or awareness, you need to be very discerning. Look at 3 or 4 options, then look at your situation and say, this is what works best for me. And obviously, we can agree that it's not the loan with the highest interest rate.
Okay.
Yeah.
So essentially what I hear you to be saying is that there's a direct correlation between, yes, fundamental discipline and the management of money.
Correct. And take it seriously, because people take things seriously. Let me tell you, that people, when they want to post their videos on Instagram or TikTok, the kind of seriousness that they put there, the filters, you see, if they're a football fan or Arsenal or Man U, the kind of serious, they will know even the troubles that the coach is having at home. They know way too much. So I'm just saying, if money is that important to you, give it that seriousness. Honestly, you are smart. And if there are 3 or 4 options, and you look at it, that you will look for the best option. It is a blind spot that already you can go to school up to PhD level without learning about money. So you'll have the money coming home. You are very hard, the PhD professor, so and so, but money will give you character development. Because you only know your medicine or engineering. You've never taken even 10 minutes to read a book on money. You've never looked at shows on money. You never looked at CBK website and see even the regulated players.
Right.
Yeah, so someone will approach you and they tell you they can give you returns of 30%. And since money has got a lot of emotions, you get excited and you get into it. And the good thing is that since we are smart now, when you go to Google and start researching, you realize how wrong you are.
But why don't we? And I think it was just in connection to one of the questions that CT asked earlier. Why don't we give it as much importance as, because we think that it's very important when you get into a spot of trouble, right?
Yeah.
But then why don't we just give it that attention that it requires? What have you seen in terms of patterns that stops folks from doing that?
Yes, I think the pattern is the blind spot is that if it is a life skill, and life skills, traditionally you used to have ways of imparting life skill to people, right? So even for boys, girls, we had those, but that we lost it along the way. So currently it's just what Robert thinks, and you move on until you get character development. So these days in life we are learning the other way around. You get character development is when you try to fix it. So I think we need to know that money is at the cornerstone of life, and give it time, and know that it works this way in terms of social capital, the relationship that you have. Before you earn any income, you need to know people, right? The HR that you're going to sit in front of, So you need to know, what do the HR want? If it is customers, what do they want? If it is business partners, what do they want? So the relationships are very key, And skills, you need to upgrade your skills. So like you're saying now, the world is changing, during the previous generations, to be honest, they had a lot of fun. I don't think if some of them...
Previous is like me.
You guys, did you tarmac like the way?
No.
If you had a degree.
Not like the way.
Yeah.
We didn't tarmac at all.
Correct, yeah. So I usually say,
all.
You had fun.
Currently, lots of it.
Yes. And I tell Gen Z, they need to realize they're in a different generation, because that generation, they didn't even know what tarmacking is. I heard when they're in third year in campus, there are already companies coming around. Currently, you can graduate.
Very true.
And you find there are so many people who are jobless. So you really need to know the season and the generation that you are in.
Before I finish my final exam, I knew where I was going to work.
You see?
I
Yeah.
had a letter.
Correct.
Yes, so what you're saying is absolutely correct. And you could change jobs. Yes.
But how about my 7-year-old? You know, my 6-year-old. I don't want them surprised. The next generation after maybe me. And I'm looking at the CBC fine. They're trying to make it more specific. But this financial literacy thing, that even when you did your MBA, did not actually impact as much as you've learned now. I want to save my 7-year-old. As a parent, I want to save my 6-year-old, 8-year-old before it actually hits them like it hit me.
Yes. So what I've seen now, we are in what we call an ownership economy. So ownership economy is more of what you own and what it can do for you. So you need to teach the 7-year-old to learn what we call value creation. How do you learn to create value? Because when you create value, then money exchanges hands. You know, when you go to Java, you are served that value creation that Java is creating for you. Then with that income that you've earned, can you convert it into ownership? Can you put it in a circle? Can you put it in a money market so that later on it starts working for you? Because the thing is, the generation is a little bit different in terms of how we are working. The business cycles are shorter. I remember there's a time when you go to town, there are those shelves where you can leave your bag. You remember? Then everyone got into it. So you realize your business has collapsed in 3 months because there's everyone doing it.
Yeah.
So it's not like before you could do the same business for 20 years or the same job for 20 years. So we really need to be more thoughtful and realize these are totally different generations. There are so many opportunities, but there's an illusion in terms of how long you could take doing the same thing.
But Robert, there's this little discussion that always creeps in when we're talking of money. Black tax. Always creeps in an African setting. Relatives near and far, extended and otherwise, and the need to support them. I personally like the idea of supporting my relatives and extended family. I think it's a good idea. And I often wonder where the term black tax came from. But how does it play into all this? Because when we talk about all these wonderful things we're saying, and somebody introduces that particular concept, then suddenly they say, but if I've got this, how then do I manage this and balance it with this?
Yes. So what I was saying, like, it goes to relationships. I think these days, people are not very keen on relationship. There are a lot of casual relationships, you know, like you can be in social media and claim to have 2 million friends, and they're not really your friends. So what I usually say, you have to anchor your life and know who are your real friends. Like for me, I know some aunts and uncles of mine, like if they see me coming today, they'll be so happy. On a good day, they're always happy for you. Those are your people. But if you pick an aunt or uncle who always want only money from you, then think twice. Yeah. So being an aunt or uncle is not about money. So if you allow that, then you got a problem.
If you allow
Correct. Because there's no way it is written, even when you go back to 1900, that being your relative is to do with money.
Actually, biblically,
Yeah.
you are required to look after your kith and kin.
Your kith and kin, yeah.
You-
It is written.
No.
Oh, okay.
Look after.
Doesn't mean financial.
What he's saying is not that you don't give money. It can't be that your relationship is about money all the time. That's the point he's making.
Correct. Actually, the people who issue success, they'll even ask you, like when I was in university, they'll ask you, what is the best meal that you usually like? You find that meal is only 200 and they send you.
They send you for that
not
meal.
a lot of money, so that you enjoy it. Because that is now what being a relative is. It's not waiting till you graduate, then now you start explaining yourself, you know, so and so. Or they hear you work in a bank, then now they call even 20 times, you know, and they know you are paid on 24th or 22nd. They tell you know, Arsenal is playing tomorrow because they know you are an Arsenal fan. So if you allow that, then I say you don't have money skills, because one of the money skills that you need to have is to learn to say no. It's a money skill, and no is a complete sentence.
Right.
And there's no relative who will stop being a relative of yours because of money. Your mom or dad will love you irrespective of your money.
That relative who sent you 200 bob, that's a relative who understands investment.
Yeah, great guy.
Correct. And you remember that time it was only 65 bob to buy chicken in the school canteen.
Yeah.
It was a big deal. Yeah, that deal I'll work with a lot of pride. But courtesy of that
relative at
so in
200.
future also give back. It is simple,
Yeah,
so
investment.
You think very fondly of that person.
Yeah, you invest in each other and uplift each other. Sometimes it could be ideas. Just telling me there's this job at Safaricom that I've seen. I can't see everything on the internet,
Right.
but there are things that they know that I need, and they'll share. Then I apply and I get. You see, they've actually invested in you.
But I also think
Yeah.
it's important that you are also a receiver of, the ideas that are shared with you, because they
Correct.
say you can't see everything in the internet. So don't lock out people. Be essentially somebody who engages people, like you said, friendships, but also have your ears out there and allow people to, also share. Be a good receiver and a listening ear.
And what I would say, anchors. Like, I think the problem, people don't know who their anchors are. Like, personally, I know. Like, in business, I know who my anchors are. They always uplift me. Yeah, it's not a big deal. Even if something happens and I send 10K or 20K, it's not a big deal, But the people who now want to hustle you, yeah, they want to hustle you. And no matter what you do, they'll always find a way to say you are a bad person.
Exactly.
I think that when you are on a road to nowhere, just cut off the relationship.
And keep it moving.
And this thing of wanting to be perfect, you are not perfect, You'll never be perfect. And pleasing people, comedians who have come here will tell you is the most difficult thing.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
So if you make that your business, you'll lose the relationship plus your money.
Look,
But the people who uplift you when there's an opportunity, like last year we had a big conference at Radisson Blue, 350 people came, and there are friends of mine who are sharing it on LinkedIn.
Beautiful.
I mean, it's
One of
has
them,
been
because of him, 10 people came because of him. That's a friend, and they've never asked me for money. So who said friendship and relatives about money?
Alone. It has been a breath of fresh air for sure, and just giving insights into some of these things, and always a very important conversation for us to have. The CEO of Abojani Investments is Robert Ochieng, and he's been with us this hour. Robert, thank you for joining us, and we look forward to more conversations like this soon. Asante Sana.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.